Hi, welcome to the remake of the basic texture creation tutorial. We're going to go over today is how to take a basic texture or picture and put it into Counter-Strike. What I have here is just a normal picture of some bricks that I had lying around. It's also in the textures for the real world pack. We're going to make a bump map for it, which will make it look better. And we're going to just make a normal texture. The first thing we're going to do is just make it a normal texture. To do this, you install TopHATTwaffle. If you don't have TopHATTwaffle, there's a link in the sidebar of where you can download it. But for this, you just drag the picture onto TopHATTwaffle, and typically it'll look straight up something like this with 4096 and 4096. This is the max res that the texture can be, and you can have it resize everything, but everything has to be a power 2 in the end result. So if you pre-make it a power 2, it'll be fine, but if you don't, if you just Google an image and it's like 12 by 12, it'll automatically make it whatever you need. If it's already a power 2, it won't even resize it. And then when you load up TopHATTwaffle, you'll see your picture surrounded by gray. If you go to view and then tile, you can see what it'll look like tiles. How Counter-Strike renders everything, how all the textures work, it tiles it. So if the texture's made to tile, it will look better. And then we go to Save As. I'm just going to name it Brick 1. Save. And now it's a VTF on our desktop, or wherever you saved it to. Then you want to go to your Counter-Strike folder in this location up here, and then you go to Materials and create a folder. I already have a folder created named Test. Then you drag the photo in there, or the new VTF. Double click it, click Tools, and create VMT. If it doesn't auto open with VTF-Edit, have it open with VTF-Edit manually. And then you'll get this window that pops up. It'll ask you for bump map 1. All these things are optional. The only required thing is the base texture. Then you go to Options. You'll see a shader. Typically you just want light map generic for most textures. It's pretty much all you ever use. And then you'll see Surface 1. What this is, these are all the pre-loaded surfaces that you can use. There's a list online, which I'll also put a link to in the sidebar, of every surface that Counter-Strike has, but these are the main ones. So you want brick. And you usually don't want to put anything in keywords because it kind of messes up hammer, nothing serious, but it gives you errors in your log. Then you want to uncheck translucent because it's not a translucent texture. In the tutorial that I made before this one, number 14, it shows you how to make translucent ones. Then you click Create and save it. And now you'll have a .vmt on your desktop, which can be opened with Notepad, but I use Notepad++. There's also a link to that in the sidebar. It's what I use to edit everything. So now you have light map generic, curly bracket, $ base texture, the folder that it's in, and then the texture name, and then the surface prop, and what the material is. And then you drag that in, and now that texture will show up in Counter-Strike automatically. So now we're going to make a different texture, but it's going to be based off the same brick. So we're going to copy I'm going to copy brick, and I'm going to name it Brick 2. And Brick 2 is just the exact same thing. But here's something else we're going to do with it. If you still have the original file, if you don't, you can convert it. We're going to make a bump map for it. To do this, there are a couple other programs to do it. I'll put links to my two favorite ones in the sidebar. It's a Photoshop plugin if you have Photoshop, but if you don't, there's a 30-day trial of my #1 favorite called Crazy Bump. I have an older version. I have 29 days left on my trial, but it all works the same. So you just load up Crazy Bump, and then you drag your picture onto it, and you click Open as Photograph. It'll do its thinking thing, and then it'll present you with two pictures of basically what they look like. Use your best judgment to decide what you think it looks like. If you decided wrong, you can change it with the settings. But it looks like brick. And then it gives you a 3D view. You can change what the object is. You can make it a ball. But all this bump map does is it makes it look 3D. This is the actual texture, but this is what the bump map is. It looks like it's 3D now, but it still remains 2D. But you can always change whatever the settings are. It will automatically refresh. What I like to do is I like to put the texture right there like that, the bump map, then you can mess with the settings right here. You can make it more bumpy, less bumpy. You can invert the shape. So it all works out pretty well. And then once you find something that you're happy with, which it's not really hard to get. The program pretty much does everything for you. And then this is your bump map. Then, if my taskbar wasn't in the way, you click save, and then save normals to file. Now what a normal is, this is a normal map. It tells the game how to decide this image. And then you want to save it as a TGA. It's the default thing. You can save it as a ping, but TGA is the best quality for this. And then it'll put NRM at the end. That stands for normal map. Then you save it, and it will now be on your desktop. Now we have to make this a VTF. So you just drag it onto VTF edit, and then save it again. I'm just going to call it brick2 underscore NRM. Typically you always want NRM. At the end, it's the simple way of knowing that, hey, this is a normal map. And now you load up your regional texture in Hammer, not the VMT. I mean, not the normal map. And then you select create VMT again, and under bump map 1, you want to select the normal map. If you just put normal NRM at the end, you can copy the base texture, add underscore NRM to the end, and you'll be pretty much done. Then you add brick again, and create VMT, save it to the desktop, and that's the basic texture creation for this. I'll create a map really quick to show you what these actually look like between normaled and not normaled in Hammer. Alright, here we are in Counter-Strike. If we go ahead and load up our map here. Now, when you spawn, we kind of see what's going on here. We see that our texture is in. This is the one without the normal map. The texture already had shadows under each brick, so it kind of looks fine. And this wall is the same way. But if you look over here on the normal map, it looks a little more, like, in-depth, if that makes sense. And you'll see that the shadow is actually, like right here on the light, it looks normal because there is a light right here that I added in Hammer. But underneath, or around it, you see that the bricks actually look like they're 3D. And if you enable your flashlight with MP Flashlight 1, you can turn on your flashlight, and the flashlight will actually show you what's going on here. Like, it actually shows, like, the shadow gets darker when you look down. But it is still a 2D texture, so it doesn't cost that much to render. So it pretty much leaves your game untouched by resources that are being hogged. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial on how to make simple textures for Hammer. There will be another tutorial coming soon about how to make more advanced textures in addition to the other ones.